Welcome back to Dice to Pixels. We're here with episode 46, and Chad and Sarah are not here, so we're going to do something a little different tonight. Normally, we'd have a pre-filmed episode that I would throw up, but that is currently having some processing done to it because somebody didn't focus one of the cameras correctly. So we will get that out at some point. Sorry, Sam. It was a great conversation, but it currently has about 100 hours left on processing, so that's going to take a while. In the meantime, tonight I have my wife with me. We're going to be going through some of our board game collection, and we're just going to be chatting about it, doing sort of review-ish stuff with some of them. No particular order. We've got a couple of our favorites in there, and some that not so much. And let's get into it. Do you want to say hello, Danielle?
Hello.
All right. What do you want to start with? Anything in particular?
Let's start with Ticket to Ride, because I feel like that's a classic.
Ticket to Ride. It is a classic. That is a word for it. So Ticket to Ride, I mean, if you play board games, you know this. Let me see if I can get it more or less on camera. You know this game. You're building trains across one of a few maps. This one is North America. And it's fun. It's easy. I don't know. Do you like this one?
Yeah, it's one of the first strategic games that I really got to play, other than, Monopoly and Risk and stuff.
Did we play this before Agricola?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
So Ticket to Ride, I mean, you're trying to build trains. You're trying to cut off the other players and build your train longer, better, faster, to the right destinations to score points. It's very simple. There's no mechanics to it. And I don't hate it. I like the game. Obviously, it's won lots of awards. Everybody seems to like it, but it's also kind of the milquetoast of strategy games these days. It's a little bit like Cards Against Humanity. Everybody's played it to death. So some people are just sick of it. But it is a good game. If you haven't tried it, I mean, it's well worth checking out.
I think it's a great game for families, especially when you have younger kids, because it doesn't take that much thought to really figure out what your method is going to be.
Yeah, well, you can kind of just blow through it. I think what I would say about that is whether you're strategizing a bunch or playing like a buffoon, the score spread and there are exceptions, but the score spread tends not to be too catastrophic. Some games you'll end up I scored 79 points and I scored 14. This one doesn't have too much of that. I've had a couple of games like that in the past, but for the most part it's close-ish. Quick to learn, so this is a great one to kick off a party night. If everybody isn't sick of it already, it's a great one to kick off. I don't know what they say on the box in terms of time. Let me find out here. It'll be on the back, of course. They say 30 to 60 minutes. That's a pretty wide range. I don't think I've ever seen it go much past 30.
No, I don't think we've ever played a game that went past 30 minutes.
No, it's pretty quick. They say it's 1 to 4, is it? 2 to 5. 2 to 5. Yeah, of course it's 2 to 5. You can't play single player. I bet there are rules online for it, though. Yeah, it's a good game. I like it, but also, it's pretty widely known. Everybody's played that one.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad thing. It's just everybody's played that one. I want to talk about this one. This is a game that my buddy Aaron, who has been name dropped many times on the podcast before, got me for, I guess this was my birthday. He brought this.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. This is a very cool game that I unfortunately can't unfurl the entire thing because the map is big. But you can see on the box, and actually I almost think that there's a riddle on the box that you can do as well. You can see that these are all sketches, and so individual people in the sketch will be sketched in multiple places, and there'll be snapshots of them throughout their day. And you have clue cards and mystery cards that you're the detective trying to solve it, and a bunch of you have to get around the map. You can play it single player, I assume. What is it? What does it say? Yeah, it says 1 to 4. There's no strict upper limit on this, except that I found beyond about 2 to 3 players, it gets way too crowded.
Yeah, it gets crowded when you're all trying to go around the map and look for the same thing.
Yeah, because the map's huge. Like the map, I don't know if it gives a size on the box, but we're talking like probably 4 or 5 feet wide. Like it's a big map.
It took up most of our table.
Yeah. You need some space to play this one. But what happens is inevitably everybody's kind of looking in the same area, and so 2 or 3 people is really where you want. There's nothing stopping you from playing with more people, and it's very easy to sub people out. So it is a good game. Like we were playing it, I was cooking, and so I would come over and play a little bit, look for stuff while I had a minute, and then you guys were kind of doing stuff in the background. Great for that sort of thing. If not everybody's like sitting down to play a game, you can totally put it out on the counter or on a table and just kind of have people drop in and out. So I like it for that. And it's also a really unique game. I'd never played anything quite like it. So,
no, definitely unique. It's the first kind of map game like that I've ever played, where you're kind of doing a Where's Waldo sort of thing.
Yeah, it's a very adult version of Where's Waldo, and some of the the mysteries are like, the wife poisons her husband or like commits murder or like follow the mob boss sort of thing. So it is sort of an adult version of Where's Waldo, but really good. Super big fan of this. I'm curious. I don't actually know, but I bet there's other maps or other editions of it.
Maybe not yet, because I know
it's pretty new.
It's pretty new. It won the big award in 2021 for Game of the Year. So
yeah, it's pretty new, so there might not be other options. I think there were 7 or 8 different, maybe even more than that.
There were more. I think there were at least a dozen.
Yeah, you think there were about a dozen?
Yeah.
Anyways, good game. Definitely. We played for hours and didn't run out. So like it's got time behind it. But that one's great. So thank you, Aaron. We'll probably play that with him tomorrow a little bit. We could talk about your favorite game of all time, which is one of these two. All right, so these two, I'm going to bring them down at the same time because they're kind of similar. So one is Avalon, which if you've done social deduction games at all, you are familiar with Avalon. The other is Secret Hitler, which, as I understand it, I realize that this is upside down. It doesn't matter. Some people still haven't gotten their hands on Secret Hitler.
Really?
I guess. Somebody said that the other day, and I was a little surprised. It was a Kickstarter.
I was about to ask you if it was a Kickstarter.
It was a Kickstarter, and I got it in the Kickstarter. But as far as I know, they've printed it a couple of times since then. It's a pretty popular game, though, among those who have played it. So both of these are social deduction games. Somebody is, the team is split between players who are on the good side and players who are on the bad side. In Avalon, it's who is the bad side? Is it Morgan?
Yeah, I think it's Morgana,
yeah.
That's the bad side, and then obviously King Arthur and his knights.
Yeah, Merlin and King Arthur and such are the good guys. This is the game. These are the two games where no matter what game we're playing, you may have heard me make the joke in the past that I'm always Merlin and I'm always Hitler. That's where this comes from. Even if we're not playing these games, even if I'm not them in these games, I'm always Hitler and I'm always Merlin. Because why not?
Why not?
You hate these games.
I hate these games.
Yeah. Because you don't like that I'm good at lying.
Yes. I have a hard time. Well, I guess not a hard time, but just like I don't like it when people are lying and I know that they might be lying. So it's hard for me to figure that out. And I have a terrible poker face.
Yeah, you're not fantastic at it.
No, I have terrible poker face. So
we have a Leia joining us. You will, by the way, hear many more cats on tonight's episode. because both of us are down here. Normally Danielle is elsewhere in the house keeping the cats under control, but tonight we're both down here, so they're gonna be meowing at us all night. I love these games. I like even watching people play these games because I just find it such an interesting group dynamic.
I think I might enjoy watching them more, but I hate it when I have to be part of it.
And I know it annoys you that I have a very good poker face.
Yeah, very good poker face.
So anyways, I should say a little bit more about these. These are, let's give you some time. So these say 30 minutes for Avalon, and I'm gonna guess they say the same for they say 45 for Secret Hitler. I don't think that's true. I think they're about the same, to be honest. Secret Hitler does have a board that you track progress on, but Avalon kind of does too, because it's got like the missions that you have to achieve. I suspect they're both somewhere in the 30-minute range. I don't think either of them go 45 unless you're doing something weird. The one thing I will say about these is it's best if you play them with somebody who has played them before, partly because at the beginning of the game you have to do a whole rigmarole where it's like, okay, everyone who's on the bad team, close your eyes. Everybody on the good team, put a thumb up, or whatever the dance is. And it helps if you have somebody who has actually done it before, even if they just do that for you and don't even play. But I like both of these. I think I like Secret Hitler more, partly because it has some really good, it just feels more like a game, which isn't really fair because it's not very much different, but the board and the little, like the Chancellor plaque that you like pass around, it's fun. I think it's great.
And is it like you're either an Axis or an ally?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, more or less. So with Secret Hitler, it's liberal or fascist is what it's divided into.
Oh, okay. Yes.
So let's see if I can get these on the screen and indeed upside right. So you can see like they've got like gilding on the plates on the boards there. They're quite nice. So basically the goal in this game, since I'm bringing it out, is if you're on the good side, the liberals, you're trying to reach the bird. So you're trying to pass enough liberal policies to reach the bird. If you are the fascist team with Hitler, you want to do one of two things. You either want to get enough policies passed that you can just win, or at any time, if you manage to get Hitler elected chancellor, you win. Because he never cedes power. So that's sort of the game in a nutshell. And it's very well made. It's very pretty. They did a really good job. And because of the boards and everything, I do think it kind of feels more like a game. But if we're totally honest, they're almost the same game. They're not very different.
Yeah, they're both very similar.
And I recommend either of these. Apparently, Secret Hitler might be hard to find, so get Avalon if you can't find it.
Yeah, definitely.
Avalon's also cheaper. What do you want to look at next? Why don't we look at... Well, first of all, let's talk about the first game, I think, that you ever kickstarted.
Yes, this would be the first game that I ever kickstarted.
Bam. Exploding Kittens. Do you want to give us a quick rundown of what this is? I mean, I can do it if you want.
I'm not very good with remembering
All right.
rules.
So this game is basically... it's a bit like Uno, pretty much.
Yeah.
But with cats. So your cats are trying to... you basically draw cats, and they're going to try and like press the nuclear launch button or electrocute themselves or whatever. And if you draw an exploding kitten, one that's trying to kill itself, through curiosity, not necessarily malice, you can like diffuse the situation. There's like a diffuse card, but then somebody else can like play a nope, and it's very Uno-ish. But it was done by the Oatmeal, right? It's the guy who does the Oatmeal comic?
Yes.
Or the team that does the Oatmeal, I should say, probably.
Well, it's him because it's his comic.
Does he do all of the illustrations?
Yes.
Oh, damn. What a guy.
He does.
What a guy.
Yeah.
So this is a bit of a series of games. He has now done a handful. This was the first of them. It says it takes 2 minutes to learn and 15 minutes to play. That's probably pretty close to true.
Yeah, definitely.
And then since then, he has also done Bears versus Babies and Crabs.
You've Got Crabs.
You've Got Crabs. Yeah.
He also did a game that came out very recently. I think it's called... Oh, I forget if it's kind of similar to Letter Jam,
Okay.
where it's like a word game, and then the other person has to try and guess what your word is.
All right. We should check that out.
Yeah. He actually on his website recently had kind of like a virtual
Okay.
game on there for a while to promote his new game, and it was actually kind of fun because of course he picked crazy words and then he had a visual clue with each of them that he had drawn.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, virtual demos are becoming more common, and I'm here for it. I think that's a great idea. So Exploding Kittens, like, let's be clear, it's I think what I would say is if you like a game like Uno at all, this is better because the cards are all illustrated by an excellent webcomic artist. So very hilarious version of Uno, basically.
Yeah, and I have got the Not Safe for Work
Yes.
edition. So if you get the Not Safe for Work edition, there's some adult humor in there for you.
Yes, which is, I mean, they're all good, but the NSFW version is better. So I mentioned the other two. We actually have all three of the games that I mentioned. So Exploding Kittens was the first. It's basically Uno. There's Bears versus Babies, which is sort of
It's a deck building a bit.
it's kind of a deck building, not really. Kind of. You're basically assembling your bear monsters and then trying to survive and defeat waves of babies that attack you. And if you defeat the wave, you get to keep the points. It's, I don't know exactly what it's like. I'm sure there's a genre that people are like, it's this, but I don't know. But it's fun. And then You've Got Crabs. I actually don't remember You've Got Crabs, but I know we have it because it's over in the cupboard.
I think we played it once, and it's a bit of like a card deck building with like you collect tokens as well.
Yeah. I don't remember it well enough but I think I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, it's fun. It was a lot of fun, but I think we only played it the once.
We have too many games.
Yeah, we have a lot of games.
So you mentioned Letter Jam, so let's talk about that. So Letter Jam, get this upside right, bam. If you're a board gamist, you know Letter Jam pretty much guaranteed because it's a great game that everybody knows about. In a nutshell, this guy. First of all, let me check what it takes. They say 45 minutes. I think that's long. I don't think it takes that long. Maybe.
I think it depends on how many people you have playing.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's turn limited, so there's only a handful of turns per person. Like probably only like 3 or 4 turns per person. At least in the larger games. So you're not talking about a super long game. And basically the idea is that you've got a word that somebody else put together for you. You've just got letter cards and they're forming a word, but you never get to see what they are. You get to put one of your letters up. Everybody else at the table can see what they are. And then you all have to like agree on a clue for each round. So somebody will say like, I've got a word that's like 5 letters and uses all of your letters in it, plus a wild card, for instance. And then somebody else is like, well, I've got a 3-letter word that uses 3 of your letters and no wild cards. And then you have to like debate. It's like, well, which one gives us better information? And then once you've decided, it's up to you to basically guess what your current letter that you can't see but everyone else can is based on what you think the word is. And then at the end, you get to laugh at whoever got their word wrong.
Yes.
Pretty much. I mean, it's a fun game. I really like it. It is a little finicky to teach, though.
Yes, I would say.
Yeah, there's 2 things about this game that I would caution. It is for gamers, and it's not that it's hard to play. It's that it requires everybody to focus.
Yes.
You can't have people dicking around on their phones and ignoring the game,
No.
or else it will not go well. But if you've got gamers, people who will actually commit to playing and enjoying the game, fantastic. I've never met a gamer that didn't like Letter Jam. I've met many non-gamers who were like lukewarm on it, and I think it's because you gotta be present. You can't just phone it in. It's not hard necessarily, but you gotta be focused. You gotta be in the game. So that's the only thing I would caution with that. But if you have a game group that's into it, that's fantastic. I love it.
Yeah, for sure.
On the note of Letter Jam, I have this weird game that we played just the once. Well, did we play it twice? I think we played it twice. Probe?
No, we only played. Oh no, we did play it twice.
Rounds.
We did one round and then another.
Yeah. I can't get this camera straight. There we go. This is kind of Letter Jam-ish in a very not sort of way.
And back from like the 60s and or 70s?
Yeah, so I was actually just going to check. This is an original copy that I found at a thrift store. What's the copyright on this? I remember finding it, and that's actually why I bought it, was because the copyright was some fairly disturbing...
I believe it might be inside the box.
Well, 1976.
1976,
That's the date on the box. So, like, we're talking about an old game here. So the idea behind it is you have these... it's a little bit like Wheel of Fortune sort of thing. Not really, but so you write down your word on the scrap paper, and then you flip these up. Basically, as people guess them, you flip them up. So you draw, the person whose turn it is will draw a card, and it will tell them, take a normal turn in this case, and so they will basically just guess a letter. And if you have that, it's almost like Go Fish with letters. If you have that, you have to flip it up, and then eventually, if somebody guesses your word, they get to give you a wet willy or something. It was fun, but it's an old game. Like, it doesn't have any of the mechanics that new games do. Replayability is a little low.
No, it's a classic, but it's fun for sure.
It's, given the choice, I would play Letter Jam.
Mm-hmm.
But benefit to this is it's much more friendly to like casual play. It doesn't require the same amount of paying attention because everything's written down in front of you. You don't have to like speculate on too much stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, I picked that up in a thrift store and it was fun. So that is Probe, which if you happen to travel back to the 70s, you can get a copy too. Let's talk about Tentacle Town. Dig that one out. By the way, this is nowhere near all the games that we own. I just grabbed an assortment of games. We also got to talk about careers.
Oh yeah, we definitely have to talk about careers because we played it the other night.
It's so good. I love that game. So Tentacle Town is from Monster Fight Club, and we were at one of the conferences, Gen Con. This was from Gen Con. We were across from the Monster Fight Club guys, and I kept seeing this game all weekend. I didn't have a chance to like play it or anything else, but they were demoing this all weekend right in front of my face, and so I bought it, not knowing anything about it. But it is. I don't actually want to dig it all the way out. Oh, actually, yeah, maybe I will. It's a great game.
It's so much fun.
It's one of the games that I think I would probably recommend most of all of our collection.
Yes.
Because it's fun for non-gamers. It's fun for gamers. It's easy to teach. It's easy to learn. It's easy to play. It's not gigantic. It's like the art and everything is fantastic. I know it looks big on screen, but understand that the camera only is on like a tiny part of the table right now. But so you've got basically your little island, and it's just a worker placement game. in essence, it's just a simple little worker placement game. You're trying to collect various resources to fight off the squid attack and grow the island. And in this case, because I got it at the convention, I don't know if you can get this separately. I'm sure you can on their website or whatever. It came with all of the like premium tokens, or I paid extra for them or whatever. So you've got like the actual like stand-up 3D. They're not 3D printed; they're molded. But you've got like the stand-up tentacles that attack from the water, and all the special resource tokens, and like the little iron tokens are like heavy little blocks of metal.
Yeah, they're like feel like you're holding a little piece of iron. It's really cool.
And you got your like premium coins in there that are actual metal and everything, which just adds to it. But this is a game that I would happily play with pretty much any gaming group anytime. And it's quick enough that you can teach it at the beginning of a night. And like, I always have this problem that at the beginning of a night, nobody's really into it yet. So if you break out something, you're like, okay, let's read rules for 15 minutes. People are like, no, not all except like the hardest core gamers are like, no, I'm out of this. A game like this, you can basically say like, we'll just pick it up as we go along. Here's the basic rules, and we'll go from there. And it works because you're probably 2 or 3 turns out before you get any major strategies going on anyways. And the game is simple enough that you can go fairly deep with a strategy, but you can also get completely screwed over mid-game. So
yeah, like it's a combination of strategy and luck because you have to do rolls.
I was just going to say, like, if your wife, for instance, just slaughters all of the tentacles every turn without fail, it can be very hard to win.
I was feeling lucky that night.
Yeah, you were very lucky that night. That was the last time that we played this game. Yeah, this has come out many game nights. It's just a solid game. I would say it is one that every gamer's collection I would recommend for.
Yeah. And what's the age range that they recommend on there?
They say it's 14 plus.
I'd say if you've got like a mature 7-year-old, you could probably teach it to them.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like, I see some of these games saying like, oh, this is like 12 plus. And I'm like, maybe. But this one, 14 plus actually sounds high to me.
Yeah.
You'd probably have to help them a little bit with like the conversions and stuff. But, I mean, it's pretty straightforward.
I'd play this with our niece and nephew, and they're 7 and 9.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be hard at all. And there's not like, yes, you're fighting off a tentacle monster, but like I don't think that's out of bounds for young kids. So no, I think that's great. They say 60 minutes. I think that's probably pretty close. I would say that's probably on the upper end.
Yeah.
And it's 2 to 4 players, and you really can't go beyond that because it would really break the balance of the game if you went above that, aside from not having tokens for it and everything. But Tentacle Town, if you don't have it and you are into games, I would highly recommend it. Just not because I think it's the best game or anything, but because I can't think of a group of people that I wouldn't be willing to break it out with.
Yeah.
It's not one of those games that like, it's kind of like King of Tokyo. I'll bring King of Tokyo out anytime with any group of friends. I don't have to worry about if they'll like care about the rules or if they're going to be super focused or anything else. You can just kind of like, yeah, we'll play this. Done. Easy. Which I didn't bring King of Tokyo over either. But if you're a gamer, you know King of Tokyo. And if you're not a gamer, it would be weird that you're watching this podcast. So there's that. Let's talk about this Catastrophe that you backed.
Yeah.
This is the latest game that Danielle kickstarted. Yeah, that's even the right side up. See, you can get it right side up. I just can't.
I've just been watching you and noting when you have it the right side up.
and actually paying attention, unlike me.
Yes.
So how did you find this when you kickstarted it? Were you just browsing or?
No, I feel like it was an Instagram ad.
The old Instagram ad.
It was either that or you know what I think it was? One of the kitties that they feature in here is Little Bub.
Oh, yeah.
And I am a massive Little Bub fan.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. R.I.P. Lil Bub.
R.I.P. Little Bub.
So may come as a shock that this is a cat-themed game. I know, crazy. And yeah, so I forget all of the mechanics for this because we've only played it once, but basically your cat has 9 lives, and they are denoted on this beautiful little board.
And you are trying to stay at your 9 lives where you're up in kitty heaven.
Kitty heaven.
And you're trying to avoid coming in contact with the Grim Reaper.
Yes, and the Grim Reaper, I don't know if I've got the, yeah, there we go, starts at the bottom and works their way up. Yeah. And I think it's just last man standing, right? Or last cat standing?
Yes, and there are cards that you can use to move yourself up or down. There are cards you can use to move other people up and down. Yeah. Well, mostly down. You wouldn't want to move them up.
Probably not. Yeah, it's a pretty typical sort of tit for tat sort of game, but cat themed and very, very simple to learn.
Yeah, and it features cats that are, like Instagram famous. So there's different cats from all over the world that are featured in here, and they each have their own cards, and the artwork is really well done.
Yes, yeah, the artwork's gorgeous, and all of the cats featured, obviously they're stylized and cartooned and everything else, but all of the cats in here are real cats.
Yeah,
yes?
They are real cats, and I believe all of them are rescues.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, and most of them support animal shelters and stuff.
Absolutely,
in one way or another. Yeah, Lil Bub was why we got it. I do remember that now. I can see Lil Bub in the spaceship here, and yeah, it was fun. It's simple. It's really simple. What do they say for ages? They say 10 plus. Yeah, something like that.
I would agree with that. Yeah.
2 to 6 players, 30 to 45 minutes. I feel like that's long. I don't think it took us nearly that long to play it. Maybe I'm wrong, but I thought it was quicker than that.
I don't know. I'm terrible with keeping track of time when we're playing a game.
Not a complex game at any rate. So that one's fun. So we definitely want to talk about careers, but yeah, let's talk about careers first. So this is a game, there was a while back, and actually I didn't even get Mousetrap out, but a while back Toys R Us had a bunch of retro games that they had reprinted. So this is not an original copy, this is a reprint. They had, Mousetrap and this and Game of Life and a bunch of other ones. Yeah, I think Clue came from that as well. Basically just a whole bunch of Disney archive, except it's, Milton Bradley or whatever. And yeah, just old games that I remembered from my youth. From my grandma's house. Let's put it that way. Maybe my parents' house, but definitely my grandma's house.
Which is interesting because this game is very nostalgic for me because my best friend Robin and I, every time we got together at her house, we would bust out this game and play it.
Sure, yeah.
And we are now both 36 years old, so you can imagine how old it was then. And I think it's older than we are.
Yeah, well, does this say what the original date was? I mean, it probably does somewhere. Let me see. No, this just says 2007, which is a lie. But it's old. It's very old. So it looks a little bit like Monopoly, and it is a little. It's sort of Monopoly crossed with Game of Life, except better than both.
Yes, absolutely.
And so I'll get this off because the glare is driving me insane. The last time we played it. It's a fun game partly because of the weird shit that can happen. So the last time we played it, I mean, it was a great game, and I did not win, but I think I won the best story of the game, which
you definitely won the best story.
Which was so normally the way this works is you build up your salary and you go around the board and you collect your salary, And you set out your win condition at the beginning of the game, which is like, I want to have at least X money, at least X fame, and at least X happiness. And you can be like, screw happiness and fame, I just want $100,000. It needs to add up to 100.
No, it adds up to 60.
60. Sorry, for a 2-player game, it's 100. But you get to pick your formula. So, anyways, the normal way you do this is you get jobs by going down these paths, and you get fame, and you get happiness, and you get salary, and sometimes you get money directly. In our last game, I managed to go through big business. Was my first thing of the game. I went through big business, but I didn't make any money. I think I got an upgrade to my salary, but I got no money whatsoever.
No, you didn't make any money.
And then immediately went to space.
Yes.
And then when I got back from space, because space is one of these that you miss the salary, you miss go, so you don't get your salary. So I went to space.
Well, you went to the moon specifically.
I went to the moon specifically, yes. So I skipped the salary. And then I landed on farming. But then I forget the exact... I think I just had another space card. So I was going to go through farming, but instead I went back to space. And this time I got to land on the moon, which... huge fame and whatever. And that time I think I also sold some illicit moon rocks for 10 grand. And once again skipped salary. And then... you can bump people by landing on their space. So I landed on Sarah's space, and I was going to bump her, and she had a go to the moon card. So I took that in exchange for letting her stay on the space, and went to the moon again. And so in the entire game, I went to the moon 3 times. I never made a legitimate dollar the entire game. I never got paid. I never got a paycheck. I never got a salary. The only things that I did was sell gold and rocks from the moon. That was the only money I made.
Yeah, that's the only money you made the entire game.
So we were calling me the space hobo the entire game.
Moon hobo.
Moon hobo, space hobo, whichever you want. And so it's a fun game. And replayability is really, really good. I would play that anytime. Pretty much. And it's a simple game to learn, simple game to play. It's fun. I don't really have any fault with it. It's simple.
And you can do 2 to 4 players.
Yep. And it doesn't take long. I don't know what they say on it. You can tell it's an older game because it says ages 8 and up. And these days that would be 13 and up. But
yeah, they don't expect a lot of our kids these days.
Yeah, right. Apparently this came out in the 50s.
That's amazing.
Since busting on the scene in the 1950s. There you go. That explains the
low salary.
Yeah.
You start with I think the highest, the $1,000 salary, and it's oh.
Yeah. Yeah. It doesn't give a time, but I'd say half an hour, something like that.
Yeah.
It's not super long. It obviously depends. I mean, because you write your own formulas, if everybody kind of screws themselves over with their formula, it can take a little longer. But anyways, if you can get your hands on a copy, it was cheap because it's a reprint of an old game. I'm going to say it cost me $12. So today's dollars, that's 50. But yeah, I think it's one of the best classic games.
Definitely.
By far.
Yeah.
By far.
I like it, like you said, I like it way more than Monopoly. I like it more than Game of Life.
Yeah.
It's more interesting.
It feels less random. Even though I don't think it is, it feels less random.
It does, yeah.
Yeah. We won't talk about Clue, but Clue is another classic game. We have it over there, but everybody knows Clue. It's better than people give it credit for.
Definitely.
Yeah, I always like it when we play it, and I always forget how much I like it because it's kind of well, it's from a million years ago. How good can it be?
But it's all deduction, and it's fun to deduce down to what you think you know, and then
get it horribly wrong.
Yeah, and then get it horribly wrong, and then wonder where you went wrong.
Yeah, for sure. So let's talk about two that everybody, well, no, probably not everybody, but most people have probably heard of. So bring Munchkin over here. This might be my personal favorite game of all time. And that's not to say it's the best game, because it is not. But I think it might be my personal, like, for some reason, if I don't play it for a while, I get like a jonesing to play it. And it's kind of a dumb game. Like, it's not that good, but it's, I don't know. It does something to my brain. I love it. So you can tell how wonderfully organized this game is.
Well, you actually have the cards organized into proper deck holders because there's doors and treasures.
Yeah, I should be clear. This is actually a spare copy. This is the original copy. It's in black and white. It's in sepia tone, but black and white. I bought a new version of it, I think because I couldn't find this at one point. It's color. So this doesn't get played. This is the old version. And I do actually have the doors and treasures separated for the color game. So this is kind of like well, not really. I was going to say it's kind of like Bears versus Babies, and it kind of almost sort of is, but not really at all. Basically, it's a dungeon crawl. It's sort of like a roguelike dungeon crawl in cards where you're trying to screw over your teammates. First person to 10 wins, and obviously the closer everybody gets to 10, the more hateful the game gets.
It's malicious.
You don't like this game either very much.
I used to not like this game, but I don't know. As I get older, it's more enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's it gets pretty spiteful at the end.
Yes.
So as much as this is one of my favorite games, I never recommend it to people, or at least very rarely recommend it to people, because you got to be pretty hardcore into gaming before this is a game that you'll enjoy.
Yeah.
Everybody has to stay focused for the entire game, and it can go on for a while.
Oh, yeah. We've had it go on for like hours.
Oh, God, yeah. Like they say 1 to 2 hours. So actually, that's probably fair. Yep. 10 and up, sure. 3 to 6 players, yep. You can play with more, but for the love of God, don't. It's a great, terrible game.
Yeah, it is. We have a lot of the
tons
expansions.
Of the expansions. So that is one thing I'll say about this game. There are just so many expansions,
and some of them are really fun.
Yes. Yeah. So it's all funny stuff, and there's a lot of inside D&D style jokes. Like there's the gazebo that you have to fight, and there's like gelatinous cubes and everything else. And it's a great game for people who are serious gamers.
I think my favorite monster card is the sparkly vampire.
Oh yeah, sparkly vampire.
We're making fun of those terrible books.
Twilight, yeah.
Which, for the record, I've read those terrible books and watched the movies, and I know they're terrible.
Yeah. So like you'll get like the, chainsaw squirrel of doom and stuff like that. And it's a silly game, but it's fun if you've got the right people. I think if you've got a legitimate D&D crew that like can play a D&D game for like 3 to 4 hours without zoning out, that's a game that I could recommend. But unless you've got gamers that can like stay with it, it becomes a slog at the end. A fun slog if you're into it, but a slog. Like it's literally you get from 1 to 9 in 20 minutes for the most part. And then like 9 to 10 can take like 2 hours.
Yeah, because it's all about who is left actually at 10 by the end.
Who manages to be in a good position after the last person tried to get 10 and everybody spent everything stopping it. And then you like slip in at the last minute.
Yeah.
It's not that good a game, but I personally really enjoy it. So I won't recommend it, but it's fun. The other game there, this is probably a waste of time to talk about because I think probably everybody knows about it, but can you grab Power Grid out of there? maybe. Yeah, it's a bit on the chunky side. So Power Grid is a game, wait for it, about building a power grid. You were supposed to gasp.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Try that again. Power Grid was a game about building a power grid. There you go. That's the one. So this is actually, apparently, this is known pretty widely as one of the best strategy games ever made, or at least one of the most strategic or something. It's a pretty chunky board, so I won't unfold it all the way, but just to give you an idea. So the idea here is that you've got a big map, and the cities are all connected by point values, and that's sort of the construction cost to get from point A to point B. And then within each sort of, I don't know, agropolis or whatever you call these sorts of cities.
I mean, there's cities and towns.
They are, but they're like, there's a word for like the self-contained future city sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it's not agropolis, but it's something kind of like that.
Yeah,
and it's not Ecomonopolis, because that's like a world city.
Yeah.
Something. Anyways.
I know what you're talking about, but I can't think of the word.
Everybody will know what I'm talking about, but I don't know what the word is. And then so there's 3 stages of the game, and so even if you lock down a path in the first stage of the game, once you hit the second stage of the game, other players can like swoop in and sort of they're no longer blocked, which is cool. And different resources are available in different amounts in each stage of the game. So in the early game, coal is very available, natural gas is very available, and then as you sort of progress through the years, I suppose is what it is, fissionable materials and recycled materials become more prevalent, whereas coal and natural gas become less available. And there's clean energy, which is always freely available, but is more expensive to build and harder to get because you have to fight the other players at auction for the power plants.
Yes.
And the fusion power plant is always like, everybody wants it.
Everybody wants that.
Because it's super high power and it's free energy.
Yeah. So. And the map is of Germany.
Well, this one is, I think it's double-sided. I think the default map is Germany, but I think it's double-sided, and then I also think I have the US map expansion over in the cupboard.
I believe we do have
there are expansion maps for it at any rate. This is my favorite strategy game, but it's a hard one because it's not straightforward.
No.
There's a decent amount of bookkeeping with restocking the resources and everything else, and you really have to get it right, because if you screw it up, you ruin the entire game. You can't have, it's not a casual game. It is a like cutthroat strategy from the very beginning to the very end. Everybody needs to be in it to win it, or else it's really not fun.
Yeah, and you can't let your feelings get hurt.
No, definitely not. But one of the nice things about this game is that because it comes in stages, if somebody fucks you over on the first round of the game, you get a chance to screw them over right back on the second round. But yeah, it's widely recognized as one of the best. Sorry, I got distracted. It's widely known as one of the best games for strategy, and I would personally agree with that, but it's not for casual gamers. So what distracted me was on the side of the box here, the 2 to 6 has somebody being electrocuted by the other player. And then the 12 plus has somebody putting their finger in an outlet. And then the 2 hours is just an alarm clock, which I'm not sure why. I guess they couldn't think of anything else to put there. But yeah, 2 hours for this game is about right. It's a long one, and you can't have anybody who's going to be on their phone checking Twitter and shit. You gotta be in the game. Everybody's got to be committed, and if they are, it's awesome. Mm-hmm. It's definitely a super, super fun game. But
and we've played it many times, just the two of us, and it's fun.
2 players is fine. I think 3 is slightly better, but 2 works just fine. Maybe we'll break this out tomorrow. But yeah, really good game. It's another one of those that I struggle to recommend because
Really not for everybody.
Really not for everyone. It's fantastic. If you've got a gaming group, oh man. But then you probably also already have it if you have a gaming group. But you've got to have legitimately pretty serious gamers, or else it's not going to go well. Because as soon as somebody checks out in that game, it kind of ruins it for everyone. Because everyone needs to, because of the way the markets work and everything, like everybody needs to actually pay attention and have a strategy.
Yes.
If somebody's just kind of like, fuck it, I'll just do that because why not? I just want to get my turn over with. No, it doesn't just screw them over. It actually kind of fucks up the entire game for everyone. Which, in fairness, screwing up the game for everybody is a strategy that you can play. If that's your actual strategy, it's fine. But just sort of offhandedly, not caring about the game, it really screws it up and breaks it for everyone. Did you want to talk about either of these Star Trek games? Star Trek Panic, perhaps?
Yeah, let's talk about Star Trek Panic.
Have we ever won it?
Oh, maybe once.
Yeah, there's 2 games in this pile that are like hard, and this is one of them.
But a lot of fun.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
And cooperative.
It is cooperative. Yeah, actually, incidentally, both of the games that are very hard in this are cooperative. I think I can probably grab the board out of this one. It's right on top. Convenient. So the idea here basically is that you're the Enterprise, some flavor of Enterprise.
I believe you are the original USS Enterprise.
I think that's correct.
And by original, I mean original series.
Yes. And so basically, it doesn't matter if this is upside right because it's just a symmetrical board anyways. So this may look familiar. There are other games like it. This is not a super unique game. And so basically the entire game is enemies are spawning in different zones and you're trying to kill them all.
Yeah.
And get through a number of turns, or is there a mission you're supposed to...
Well, if you pull out the actual Enterprise itself.
Yeah, I should, because it's actually pretty impressive. Bakoo!
So yes, it's the NCCO1.
Yeah, no, I figured that. And then so there are like, this is cute because there are like damage pieces. So like when your nacelle takes a licking, you can like overlay the damage on it. And you've got shields that you put up and take down. It's a pretty like phenomenal game in terms of the components and everything. But I forget what the win condition is. Maybe because we've almost never won.
No.
5 missions.
5 missions,
so
right.
You're just trying to complete 5 missions.
And you're battling the Klingons?
More than just the Klingons, I think. Because I think there's the Klingons, but then there's also the Tholins. Yeah, Tholians.
Tholians, okay, yeah.
But it's primarily the Klingons, yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the Romulans are in this one.
No, I don't think so.
They're in some of the other Star Trek games that we have.
Fleet captains, I believe.
Fleet captains, and I'm pretty sure they make an appearance in Expeditions here as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the idea being like you'll have shields and everything, and then you can like rotate yourself, and you can like move, which of course brings those enemies closer, but pushes other ones further away. Yeah, just it's a really solid game. Hard though.
Very hard.
Very hard. We have only won it a handful of times. Actually, I legitimately think you're right. I think we maybe have only won it once. We haven't played it like a huge amount of times, but it's tricky. It's not for kids who don't. It's not for anyone who's not going to pay attention.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's another game that you've got to actually play. You can't just have it on the table.
Yeah. And I mean, it's fun, especially if you're a Star Trek fan, because you've got the nostalgia in the lore, right?
Yeah, and if you're, I forgot this until I just read it on the box, so that's why I didn't mention it earlier. But if you're sitting there being like, that's Castle Panic, yes, it is. It says right here, based on Castle Panic. I just couldn't remember what the game was called. But
I've only ever known this version because
it's the only one I've played. I've never played Castle Panic, but I was aware of it existing. So like it's not a unique game. It's not the first game. It's not the same as Castle Panic, but it's pretty similar. So yeah, that pretty much wraps up. I think the only other game we're actually pretty close to an hour here. There's one game that I'm gonna mention, and I'm gonna be a little grumpy about it. Exit the game. How grumpy am I about these games?
very.
So these should be really good. So what this is it's an exit room, an escape room in a box. I'm sure you probably know about these, and you've probably already played them and formed your own opinion of them. There's a few things I don't like about these games. First of all, I don't find that they're very group friendly.
No, definitely not. It's hard to have a whole group looking at the same thing that's on a table compared to an escape room where you can have somebody go to one corner and somebody go to another corner and somebody, like you can disperse yourself amongst the room.
Yeah. So this says it's 1 to 4 players, which technically yes, but 1 to 2 at most, I think.
Yeah.
I think single player these could be pretty good. I've never tried one single. Maybe I'll try this one alone and see if I have a better time with it. Ages 12 and up, nonsense. I've never met a 12-year-old that would be able to pay attention to this game for as long as it takes to solve them.
I have a hard time with it.
Yeah, you tap out. And it says 1 to 2 hours. That's probably accurate. Which if you've got a 12-year-old that can play a game and pay attention to a game for 2 full hours, cool. There are better games to play. The other problem that I have with these is the first one that I ever played, and it left a bad taste in my mouth. And I think it's a theme with these. Is there was a clue on the box, and I'm actually going to open this right now because I am 100% confident that each one of these, and these are old copies. These they may not say this anymore, but I'm pretty sure right here in black and white it says, let's see, somewhere on here I'm pretty sure it says in black and white, everything you need is in the book or in the box. And so we set the box aside and we couldn't solve one of the riddles.
Yep.
Forever.
We had to look it up on the good old internet.
We had to Google it. And somebody was like, "Oh, it's on the box." And I said, "Hang on a minute." They told me everything was in the box. And I even double checked it at the time. And sure enough, it said everything you need is in the box. They said maybe grab a pen and a pencil. And that pissed me right off.
Yeah, he was not very happy about that.
I was really grumpy about it. Because if you're going to tell me something like that, you damn well better be right. So anyways, yeah. Otherwise, separate from that, the real issue I have with it is it's not a group friendly game.
No.
Like you buy this because you're like, cool, like we'll like get together with we're having dinner with another couple. We'll get one of these and we'll have a blast with it. No. Date night, maybe, if you're into that sort of thing. 3 to 4 players, too many cooks in the kitchen.
Yeah, definitely.
Because I'm not going to spoil this by showing you too much of it, but understand that this right here, that's your game board. That little booklet, that's your game board. That's upside down. But you can disassemble it. You can take it apart and people can steal pages to other spots. But, it's not something that you can really, gather round.
No. And there are cards and stuff that go with it.
Yeah, well, these are sort of the cards that you follow these to get your next clues, and they'll like you'll overlay them on the book and whatever to help solve things. But yeah, it's not a group game. It's billed as a group game. It seems like a group game, but it's not a group game. It's not good as a group game. And then the first one also pissed me off by lying in the booklet. But I could forgive that. That was my biggest problem with the first one, but that's not my biggest problem with the series. My biggest problem with the series is that it's not fit for purpose.
No.
It's billed as a group game and it's not. It's 1 to 2 players. I'll probably do this one on my own, or maybe I'll do it with just Aaron some night or something. And I'll see if it's any better. But we really struggled when there were 4 of us. We really struggled, and not with the problem, just with like the getting everybody with something to do in order to progress the game. And like somebody's always just sitting there like, yeah, this is super fun. I can't see anything and I don't know what to do.
And that one is one of the more difficult ones because I noticed the dots there are further towards the...
Yeah, this one says it's a 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
It says game attributes are 3 out of 5 strategy, 1 out of 5 luck, 5 out of 5 escape room fun, and 5 out of 5 riddle solving. So maybe I'll play this one solo and I'll write it up on the website or something, because maybe solo it's better, but I do not recommend these.
No.
I actually this was wrapped in the cupboard from when I bought all of them
in 2017.
Yeah, I was gonna say like 5-6 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I played one of them. Didn't like it. Played another one somewhere else. Didn't like it. And the other 2 sat in my cupboard. One of which I gave away. So yeah, I do not recommend these, but I know other people who say they like them. So what do I know? What do I know? Absolutely nothing. So we're at time. Is there what's your favorite game out of these?
My favorite game out of all of those? Ooh, that's a good question.
If I was like, let's play a game right now.
Tentacle Town.
Tentacle Town? Yeah, that's a pretty good one. I was going to say Careers, but Tentacle Town is right up there.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't talk about Galapagos, but we have so many board games. If this video does well in any way, shape, or form, we'll definitely do another one of these, probably a much shorter one. But if you're still with us, thank you so much for hanging out. Like, subscribe, all the things. We will be back to normal next week, and we appreciate you. Cheers.